This week, I decided to watch Last Chance U, several episodes, um, and I would consider this show to be one of my least favorite shows, um, simply because I am a student athlete and I'm a young lady who is constantly reminding herself to stay poised and to control yourself when there are cameras and to make sure the camera doesn't catch you cursing when you make a bad play. Um, or being a woman, just saying, all right, these are some things that you are allowed to do in public, and there are some things that you're not allowed to do in public. You're able to cry when you're alone, and you're able to stay strong and willing to work hard in front of others. And so I think that this show really does kind of goes against that, goes against my views. You have several student athletes, you have several individuals, coaching staffs, that doesn't hold themselves accountable when in front of a camera. Things that they can say a lot of things and do a lot of things in front of a camera. And I think that it's terrible. I am fully aware that coaches can be insane. And in fact, you might need to be insane in order to be a coach. This is a hard job, and it is normal to get out of character at times when you're very passionate about games. But again, I think there's a time and place for everything, and you have to be mindful, and you have to make sure that you carry on a good role in front of others so that you can continue to bring people in, including good players. I think sometimes we carry ourselves in a way that we think is cool or we think is acceptable because kids like it rough or hard or like to be yelled at or yanked. But I think that there are so many different ways to teach a kid and coach a kid without being disrespectful, wild, and loud. I did speak to a couple of people that actually loved the show, though, and I was very impressed with their views and how they liked it. These were, in fact, two men. I do have a younger teammate who has watched it and loved it. I have a really good guy friend who was on the show. He was at EMCC first and then was blessed to transfer to Mississippi State University. So him being on the show and then him, leaving the school, experiencing those relationships, he loved it. And he was also fully aware of what that coach was bringing to the table. So for those that were shocked of his language or didn't like the way he approached certain situations, in his mind, this was normal. I knew what I was getting myself into, and this attitude or this language didn't prevent me from getting my education or succeeding to the next level. So he was okay with it. He enjoyed it. He enjoyed the relationships he was able to build with those kids, and he loved it. I also spoke to an academic advisor, and he loved the show as well. He's a man. He knows the expectations. He knew a lot of those kids as well as they transferred from different schools to EMCC and back. So he's familiar with that process. So he too really enjoyed it. So two different views versus mine. Hey, I still don't really like it, but that is okay. In what ways do you feel this program reinforces hegemony? I don't think I said that correctly. But when we go back to the definition, is related to power, defined as a way of life and thought that is dominant in society to the point that it seems natural. I think that we have gotten away again from building relationships with students so that we are able to coach and teach people without being out of character. I think that sports has made it okay and natural and normal that if your coach doesn't yell at you or get angry with you or call you out of your name, they don't care, they don't think you're good, and they don't consider you to be anything worth playing. We've made it natural to where if my coach is getting on to me and they're yelling at me or they're frustrated at me, that means they care. And I'm a senior this year, so we are always saying, hey, if the coach stops talking to you, or if the coach doesn't care about what you're doing, or if the coach is, very, very lackadaisical with you, then your time is, they don't really care about you. So we've made it normal to say, hey, if my coach keeps getting on to me, that means she still cares, or that means she still wants me, or she thinks I'm still a valuable player. And so I think that that is something that is dominant, and we are making it natural, normal. That if your coach is getting on to you, disrespecting you, calling out your name, or yelling at you, not saying that this is happening on my team, but it's gotten to a point now where it's normal, and I don't think that's okay. In relation to this program, which of Hall's social positions do you think you hold and why? I think negotiable. And I think because as a viewer, as I'm looking here, their example was like The Voice. So we're in competition and we're questioning a lot of things, if I'm understanding this correctly. And so it's negotiable because we question a lot of things. We say, okay, could that have happened? Especially watching something on a show and not knowing if it's for the views or if it's real. I think that we're pretty good with examining, differentiating between the two, but I think that this is something where we can say, okay, is he doing all this racket because he has a camera in front of him, or does he do this on a natural basis? And if you don't really know this guy, you would think that it's for show, possibly. So we're able to ask questions, we're able to compete, we're able to be questionable about things. We're able to pick and choose what we believe, what we don't believe. And then the last question is, after watching the show again, do you feel you have a new appreciation for the show? No, I think that is still pretty crazy. I watched some more shows today and was so shocked. There was actually a fight. EMCC got into a big fight last year or several years back, and I was just baffled at how things were handled and how people were talking to each other and what was considered the norm. And I would have been embarrassed to see my school on a show and all that disrespect going on, and the camera catches everything. Coaches are fighting, police are involved, student athletes are getting crazy. I'm very, quiet and poised, and I'm very secretive. And so to see people get out of character and something that I don't normally like to do in public, I'm pretty shocked. I probably dislike it more. But what I can say is, though, it is very, I wouldn't say addicting just yet, but I find myself watching more shows, just curious, just trying to figure out, like, you guys are insane. And why do people like this show? I still don't like the show, but I find myself still watching it. So, yeah, that's it.